Keir Starmer and Nigel Farage, two men who represent the most polarised ends of British politics, shocked the House of Commons today in a brief yet electrifying exchange that has sent Westminster into a frenzy. In the midst of heated debates surrounding the assisted dying bill, Starmer left his place on the Labour front bench and walked across the chamber with Nigel Farage, leader of Reform UK and GB News firebrand, clearly in his sights. The encounter, brief as it was, left MPs and commentators scrambling for answers about what could have been so important as to prompt such an extraordinary gesture. The clip captures the moment Keir Starmer leaves his seat, making his way across the Commons floor. Farage, mid-conversation with Conservative MP David Davis, notices the Prime Minister's approach. Davis promptly exits, leaving Farage alone as Starmer leans in. The two exchange a chuckle, followed by a more serious exchange, before Starmer strides back to his seat. In a chamber usually defined by its sharp divisions, this moment was nothing short of surreal. Starmer, the face of progressive Labour and a staunch Remainer, and Farage, the uncompromising voice of Brexit and populist conservatism, seemed worlds apart, until now. The nature of their exchange remains a mystery, but its timing couldn't be more intriguing. The Assisted Dying Bill, a landmark piece of legislation, was the centre of attention in the Commons. Proposed by Labour MP Kim Leadbeater, the bill seeks to legalise assisted dying for terminally ill adults with less than 6 months to live. With strict safeguards in place, approval from 2 doctors and a High Court judge, the bill aims to provide terminally ill patients the choice to end their lives with dignity. Starmer and Labour have backed the bill enthusiastically, framing it as a step forward for personal freedoms and human rights. In his opening remarks, Starmer described it as a chance to empower individuals to make one of the most difficult decisions of their lives on their own terms. But not everyone was convinced. Nigel Farage, true to his disruptive persona, has been a vocal opponent of the bill, warning that it risks creating a dangerous precedent. Calling it state-sanctioned euthanasia, Farage argued it would devalue the sanctity of life and lead the country down a slippery slope. Conservative MP Danny Kruger echoed these concerns, branding the bill as a poorly disguised state suicide service and urging MPs to reject it. Tensions in the Commons were already at boiling point when Starmer made his unexpected move toward Farage. Witnesses described the Prime Minister's expression as one of determination, while Farage initially appeared bemused, then attentive. Their exchange, though brief, ended with a curt nod from Farage before Starmer returned to the Labour benches. Speculation has since erupted over the meaning of their conversation. Some theorise that Starmer, known for his calculated moves, may have used the moment to subtly reach across the aisle, perhaps to gauge Farage's stance on an unrelated issue. Others suggest it was a strategic effort to disarm Farage's potential opposition on a future topic. And yet, there are whispers that this could have been something as simple as a fleeting moment of civility, albeit an unusual one given the context. Adding to the intrigue was the sudden departure of David Davis just as Starmer approached. Davis, a veteran Tory MP and former Brexit secretary, has long been an ally of Farage. His swift exit has sparked further questions. Was it to avoid being part of a politically charged moment, or did he deliberately leave Farage and Starmer to speak in private? The timing of the encounter could not have been more dramatic. Just minutes later, the Assisted Dying Bill narrowly passed its second reading, with 330 votes in favour and 275 against. Leadbeater hailed the outcome as a victory for compassion and dignity, stating, "This bill gives terminally ill individuals the control they deserve at the most difficult time of their lives." Meanwhile, Farage, who voted against the bill, lamented its passage, reiterating his belief that it sets a dangerous precedent. Yet, notably absent from his post-vote remarks was any mention of his encounter with Starmer. For a man rarely shy about speaking his mind, this omission has only fueled curiosity about the substance of their conversation. While the exchange between Starmer and Farage dominated headlines, it was far from the only controversy shaking Labour. Earlier in the day, Labour MP Tahir Ali had called for the introduction of blasphemy laws in the UK, citing a recent UN resolution condemning the desecration of religious texts. During Prime Minister's questions, Ali argued that the UK should follow suit to address what he described as rising religious intolerance. Starmer's response, though carefully worded, failed to shut down the suggestion entirely. He condemned acts of desecration as awful and divisive, but stopped short of ruling out legislation. This has sparked outrage across the political spectrum. Reform UK MP Rupert Lowe slammed Starmer for failing to offer a definitive rejection, tweeting, "Blasphemy laws have no place in this country. End of discussion." Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch was equally blunt, declaring, "I am against blasphemy laws, full stop." GB News host Lee Anderson waded into the fray during a fiery panel discussion on the subject. Political commentator Amandeep Bogle suggested that those who don't align with British cultural values should leave the country, prompting an explosive response from trade unionist Andy Twelves, who called the remark authoritarian. The debate descended into chaos, with Anderson ultimately siding with Bogle, proclaiming, "If you don't respect our history and laws, what are you doing here?" And as if Starmer didn't already have enough on his plate, the resignation of Transport Secretary Louise Hay has reignited accusations of hypocrisy within Labour. Hay, who admitted to a historic fraud conviction involving a misplaced work phone, claims Starmer was aware of her past when he appointed her to the cabinet. Critics have seized on the incident as a sign of double standards, particularly given Starmer's relentless criticism of Boris Johnson's ethics during Partygate. Shadow Cabinet Office Minister Alex Burghardt has demanded clarity, stating, "Keir Starmer made ethics the cornerstone of his leadership." If he knew about Hay's conviction and still appointed her, what does that say about his judgment? Despite these mounting scandals, it is Starmer's brief but extraordinary meeting with Farage that has captured the nation's attention. In a political landscape marked by hostility and division, their fleeting interaction offers an enigma that defies easy explanation. Was it a calculated move to neutralize Farage's influence, a moment of strategic foresight? Or perhaps something as simple as a rare human moment in the chaotic world of politics? Whatever the answer, one thing is certain. As Starmer returned to his seat, the House of Commons remained abuzz with speculation. For Farage, the encounter may be just another chapter in his career as a political maverick. For Starmer, however, it represents a gamble with unpredictable consequences. In the days and weeks to come, the truth behind this peculiar episode will undoubtedly emerge. Until then, Westminster is left to ponder the significance of a meeting between two of the most unlikely allies or adversaries in British politics.